These 6 elements up here, if you want to take a screenshot. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 245, Shingon Buddhism, part 4, in which we will continue reading the Matrix and Diamond World Mandalas in Shingon Buddhism. If you would like to start at the beginning of the book, at the beginning of this recital, the playlist is up here. We normally are focusing on pre-sectarian early Buddhism, and that comes in the form of the Tipitaka, which is behind me. And if you're interested in that, that's the foundation of all forms of Buddhism. So you can click there, and there's hundreds of episodes. That's what we mostly do here on the podcast. And one thing that's new, there's other things too, but one thing I'll just call attention to, of course, this is Shingon, that's what we're doing today. But I've just added a Zen playlist. There's been a few Zen-related episodes. By that I mean specifically focused on Dogen and the introduction of Zen to Japan in the 1200s. So, of course, Zen and Chan are the same, but mostly focusing on Dogen. So the Zen playlist is here, and that includes 4 episodes so far. So you've got 4 episodes of Shingon, including this one, 4 episodes of Zen. I'll go ahead and get to the reading so that we can see how much we can get through in today's episode. I know some people were complaining that I talk too much and don't read enough. But I will do my best, but I do sometimes talk. If I read something and it prompts me to talk, then I do talk. So I hope you don't mind too much. So picking up right where we left off last time. The identity of universal essence and the 6 elements. Universal essence, the permanent and indestructible essence of all the dharmas, is an aspect of suchness, but is not distinct from the dharmas themselves. Universal essence and the impermanence and mutable dharmas interpenetrate. They are non-dual. Kobo Daishi? I've been saying Dayashi. Comment below if you have any notes about my pronunciation. I know I have an Americanized pronunciation of most things like Dharma and Buddhism, so maybe I'm saying it in an American way, but it's spelled Daishi, but I've always assumed it was Dayashi for some reason. I think I heard someone say that. Kobo Daishi elucidates this theme by positing the identity of universal essence and the 6 elements. The 6 elements, the irreducible components of all dharmas, are earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. The exoteric schools think of the 6 elements in 2 ways. The Hinayana, Theravada, will correct the political incorrectness of calling it little vehicle. Sorry. The Hinayana, the Theravada, locates them entirely at the phenomenal level and associates them with phenomenal entities, so that the element fire is nothing other than the fire that burns on the hearth, and the element water is the water that flows in the river. They are subject to all the vicissitudes of the phenomenal dharmas and are impermanent, mutable, without self-nature. The Mahayana, on the other hand, teaches that the elements have 2 aspects: an invisible aspect that is unconditioned, eternal, and immutable, and a perceptible aspect that is conditioned, ephemeral, and mutable. A little bit Platonic, isn't it? Maybe, maybe not. The Mahayana says that only the formal aspect is truly real. The latter aspect, while having a quasi-reality at its own level, is void in relation to the former. Kobo Daishi rejects the Theravada view because it denies the reality of the elements and thus of the dharmas they compose. And he rejects the Mahayana view because it sets up a dualistic distinction between the conditioned and the unconditioned. In opposition, he teaches that the 6 elements and the dharmas they compose are fully real, since they are identical with universal essence, the unconditioned essence abiding in suchness. The 6 elements possess all the qualities of suchness. They are permanent and immutable, universally omnipresent, eternal, and indestructible. So here there's a table, element, earth, water, fire, air, space, consciousness. Okay, element, property, function, form, color, seed, ultimate meaning. So I'm going to trust the editor, who is me in the future, to put this up on the screen for you to help it make sense beyond me just describing it. So, yes, here we go. In the first column, earth, the property is solidity, the function, support, the form, cube, the color, yellow, the seed syllable, ah, and the ultimate meaning, uncreatedness. Okay, very interesting. All right, I'll just keep going. It's just, it reminds me of the tattvas in, well, at least in the Western esoteric version of, they claim that it comes from Jainism, but I've never actually seen it presented that way in Jainism. But there's these tattvas up here in Golden Dawn tradition. A little bit of weird overlap, but maybe appropriate since we're talking about esoteric Buddhism in esoteric Christianity. Sort of, these are the Indian element that is brought in, the overtly Indian element as opposed to the covertly, like in the middle pillar ritual. I'll just keep reading. The next column is water. The property is moisture. The function is quickening. The form is sphere. Again, aligns with the tattvas. The color is white. Not as much. Oh, no, okay, the air is circle. Never mind about the tattvas. Sorry. The yellow square related to the yellow cube. That much I can say. The seed syllable is va. The color is white. The ultimate meaning, ineffableness. Okay. Element, fire. The property is heat. The function is maturation. The form is the pyramid. The color is red. And the seed syllable is ra. Ultimate meaning, freedom from defilement. Now, the two-dimensional version in the tattvas is a red triangle, so there's another overlap. That's interesting. Next, air. Mobility is the property. Function is growth. Form is hemisphere. Okay, so the water and the air are swapped from the tattvas. The crescent is water and the circle is air in the tattvas, where this has the circle, or the sphere, as water and the hemisphere, which you might say is a little bit related to the crescent as air. So that's interesting. The color is black. Okay, that doesn't line up. Again, very, very cursory, minimal relation that will only be interesting to like 2 people, so I apologize if that's distracting. Hopefully I can make up for it by putting it up on the screen nicely with some visual representations. The seed syllable is ha. Ultimate meaning is freedom from causality. Next we have space. The property unobstructedness, freedom from impediment. The function is all-pervasiveness. The form is jewel form or composite. The color is blue. The seed syllable is ka with a KH, so ka, not ka, but ka. Maybe, I don't know. In Hindi, there's all kinds of subtle variations of sounds that on the surface sound similar, but they're important to differentiate here. Here being India, I'm talking to you from India. Ultimate meaning is the attributes of space. And the final element, consciousness. Property is perception, function is determination, form is formless. That's funny. Oh, well, okay, it has no form. Color is white or multicolored. Seed syllable is hum. Ultimate meaning is ungraspability or voidness. Okay. Continue. All right. The dharmas come into existence by dependent co-origination from the 6 elements. Kobo Daishi, I'll just try Daishi until someone tells me how I should be pronouncing it, says, quote, "The 6 elements produce all things. They produce the 4 dharma bodies and everything in the 3 worlds. They produce all the dharmas, from the uppermost limits of the dharma body down to the lowest of the 6 realms. Even though the dharmas are differentiated into subtle and gross and distinguished as large and small, they all come out from the 6 elements, and therefore the Buddha teaches that the 6 elements are the essential nature of the Dharma world." End quote. There's a footnote quoted in the Mikyo Daij 10. All right, good enough. Oh, he's commenting on passages from the Vajrayana Sutra. Well, there you go. That's a direct quote from Scripture. Here on Buddhist Books, we normally, with the one single exception of the book I'm reading right now, we're normally reading English translations of Scripture. So this is a commentary by Kobo Daishi on the Vajrayana Scripture. Nice. Okay, the 6 elements, The 6 elements produce all the Buddhas, all beings, the physical world, the 4 types of Dharma body, and the 3 worlds. Okay. That's, at first sight, this doctrine seems to be in conflict with, I'm going to skip the footnote on that one. I hope nobody minds. To say that the 6 elements are identical with the universal essence and that they are the source from which all dharmas arise by dependent co-origination is to say that they completely pervade the dharmas and are omnipresent throughout the dharma world. This is the doctrine of the, quote, unobstructedness of the 6 elements, end quote. The element earth in each dharma penetrates and pervades the elemental earth in every other dharma. The element water in each entity fuses with the element water in every other dharma, and so on for each of the elements in turn. Further, each element in each dharma penetrates and pervades each of the other 5 elements in every dharma, reminiscent of the subdogmas. Sorry. Maybe there's some correlation. Maybe. The 6 elements are eternally and unchangeably merged, fused in an unhindered interpermeation. The dharmas that arise by dependent co-origination from the 6 elements fall into 2 categories. They are physical dharmas, or dharmas of mind. The physical dharmas arise from the first 5 of the 6 elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and space. And the mental dharmas arise from the 6th element, consciousness. Since the 6 elements are mutually pervading, the 5 elements comprising the physical dharmas wholly pervade the 6th element. Good name for a movie, sorry. Consciousness, right, the 6th element, consciousness. And this is in turn wholly, This in turn wholly pervades each of the 5 physical elements. The physical dharmas and the mental dharmas interpenetrate without hindrance. The 5 elements that make up a person's body are inseparably merged with the consciousness that composes the dharmas of his mind. His body and mind interpenetrate in a non-dual cohesion. Because of this fusion of body and mind, the attainment of awakening is not, as the exoteric schools maintain, affected in mind alone, but is also and equally affected in the body. The interpermeation of the body and mind is a horizontal interpenetration at the level of the phenomenal dharmas, corresponding to the Qigon's interpenetration of phenomena and phenomena. Okay. There is also a vertical osmosis, corresponding to the Qigon's interpenetration of phenomena with their principle. The Tathagata does not differentiate self and other than self, so that the elemental earth of his body is merged with the elemental earth of everything that is other than his body. The element water of his body pervades the element water in everything other, and so on for each of the 6 elements. The elements of his body and mind are fused with the elements of the Dharma world. Okay. In summary, the doctrine of the identity of the 6 elements and the universal essence teaches that there is a totally unobstructed interpenetration and infusion of all things. The body and mind of the being merge one with the other. The body and mind of the Buddha similarly interfuse. The body and mind of the being merge with the body and mind of the Buddha. This being and the Buddha merge with the total universe of the Dharmas, the Dharma world. Okay, so far so good. This is a new section now. We've just finished that section that was entitled The Identity of Universal Essence and the 6 Elements. These 6 elements up here, if you want to take a screenshot, there you go. All right. So, 2. The identity of universal forms and the 4 mandalas. The Buddhas, the awakened ones, perceive the universal form that abides within the maelstrom of particular forms. They also perceive the inseparable fusion of the vortex of evanescent forms and their universal form abiding in suchness. The ceaseless flux of phenomena is coincident with their adamantine immutability. Universal form is Mahavairocana's body, which is coexistently fused with the innumerable modalities of form in the conditioned cosmos, and the manifold forms of the cosmos are nothing other than the qualities and virtues of the Tathagata. The Dharma body of Mahavairocana, coextensive with the space and simultaneous with the time of the total universe, is a, quote, mandala, end quote. The Sanskrit word mandala means circle. The circle is the form of completion and perfection, and therefore signifies the perfection or complete fruition of Buddhahood. The Buddha's Dharma body is a mandala, or circle, since it encompasses the world of forms. It is an all-encompassing totality that circumscribes and includes all the forms of the universe. The Dharma body of Mahavairocana Tathagata is both the mandala of the totality of his qualities and virtues and the mandala of the totality of conditioned dharmas composing the Dharma world. The mandala of Mahavairocana's Dharma body, identified with the universe of Dharma forms, has 4 aspects, termed the 4 mandalas. Firstly, the Tathagata's Dharma body is a great mandala, a mandala of the universe of forms composed of the 6 elements. Secondly, it is a Samaya mandala, the Dharma body made up of the universe of symbolic forms. Thirdly, it is a Dharma mandala, comprising all the sounds of the universe. And fourthly, it is an action mandala, a mandala composed of all the actions of the universe. The sutras give detailed directions for the different ways in which these 4 types of mandala are to be represented for purposes of visualization during the performance of rituals. Each of the 4 types of representation depicts Mahavairocana as the stationary sun at the pivot of the universe, surrounded by his virtues and qualities, personified as Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and gods. The total Dharma body of the Tathagata is simultaneously the center and surround of the mandala. The great sun and its radiations are coincident. Each of the 4 types of representation show the divinities who personify the virtues and qualities of the Tathagata's Dharma body. A great mandala shows them as anthropomorphic images painted in the 5 colors. A Samaya mandala shows them as symbols, such as a sword, a vajra, or a jewel. In a Dharma mandala, they are depicted as letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, and an action mandala represents them in the form of 3-dimensional, uncolored images. Taking each of the 4 types of mandala in turn and in greater detail. A. Great mandalas. The Dharma body of Mahavairocana Tathagata interpenetrates all the Dharma forms in the universe. The 6 elements similarly interpenetrate the forms of the Dharmas. Thus, the Dharma body and the 6 elements are identical, and the body of Mahavairocana is called the Dharma body of the 6 elements. A great mandala is a mandala of the Dharma body of the 6 elements. It is called great, firstly, because it is great in comparison with other types of mandala, and secondly, because Dai, D-A-I, is both great and element, so that Dai Mandara translates as both great mandala and mandala of the elements. Great mandalas show the images as anthropomorphic figures painted in the 5 Buddhist colors: yellow, white, red, black, and blue, parentheses, hyphen green, and parentheses, so blue or blue-green. Perhaps teal or cyan. Anyway, the colors correspond to the elements. Earth is yellow. Water is white. Fire is red. Air is black. And space is blue. Okay. Consciousness, being non-material, is colorless and cannot be shown in the mandala. But since there is a perfect interpenetration of the 6 elements, it is present in each of the 5 colors and pervades the painting. The Sino-Japanese character shiki, color, also translates SKT rupa, form. Also translates Sanskrit rupa, or form. Color and form are coincident. The world of colors is the world of forms. The 5 colors are the 3 primaries: red, yellow, and blue, plus black and white. All the colors in the visible world can be made by mixing the three primaries and black and white in varying proportions. Likewise, all the forms of the universe are a mixture of the elements. The colors of a great mandala signify that the forms depicted are imbued with and are inseparable from the six elements, in the same way that the figures of the mandala are nothing other than the colors with which they are painted. So the forms of the Dharma world are nothing other than the six elements. The presence of color is the distinguishing characteristic of a great mandala. Any depiction, even of a single Buddha, Bodhisattva, or God, is a great mandala if it is colored. B. Samaya mandalas. The forms of the universe, interpenetrating suchness, together make up the Dharma body of the Tathagata. The forms and the Dharma body are equal. The Sanskrit word samaya, a coming together, an agreement, expresses this ad equation of forms. I'm trying to remember where I know the term from. Anyway, sorry. And the Dharma body of principle, each form. I'll read that again, sorry. A coming together of an agreement. So the Sanskrit word samaya, a coming together in agreement, expresses this ad equation of forms and the Dharma body of principle. Each form, as a part of the Dharma body, is a samaya, or adequate symbol, of a virtue or quality of Mahavairocana, whose body equates the totality of forms. The phenomenal universe is a mandala made up of samaya forms, an all-encompassing totality of symbols. The term samaya, however, is symbol in a specific sense. Each form in the universe is a samaya, or symbol, that signifies not a separate or transcendent, but a coincident referent. The unenlightened see the symbol as standing apart from what it signifies, but the awakened see that the signifier and the signified are wholly interfused, inseparable, equal, identified. The samaya and its referent interpenetrate. Samaya mandalas show each of the images in the form of a samaya, such as a sword, a lotus, or a jewel, which embodies a virtue or quality of the Tathagata. The sword, for example, is the samaya form of the Bodhisattva Manjushri, or Manju Bosatsu in Japanese, who embodies Mahavairocana's virtue of wisdom, which, sword-like, cuts away the bonds of ignorance and passion. The samaya forms shown in the mandala, are representative of all the innumerable samaya forms that make up the total mandala of the universe and the Tathagata's Dharma body. C. Dharma mandalas. All the forms of the universe interpenetrate Mahavairocana's Dharma body. All the sound forms of the universe are the sound body of the Tathagata. They equate the sounds of the Dharma preached by the equal emanation Dharma body, the multiform body that emanates equally throughout the universe to preach the Dharma in modes appropriate for beings at all levels of existence. The Dharma mandala is the mandala of the totality of the sounds of the Dharma world, each an aspect of the Dharma preached by the Tathagata's Dharma body. Dharma mandalas show the images in the form of seed syllables, written with Sanskrit letters. The Dharma or doctrine preached by the Buddha and recorded in the Sanskrit sutras is representative of all the various modes of preaching of the equal emanation Dharma body in the many levels of the cosmos. All the words of the Dharma body are made up of syllables, each a modification produced by a constricting the throat and varying the positions of the lips and tongue. Of the sound ah is made when the throat is in its most relaxed position. All the words of the Dharma derive from ah. It potentially contains all voiced sounds, and hence all the words preached by the Buddha. It is the sonorous source of the Dharma. For these reasons, the syllable ah equates Mahavairokkana's body, the source of all the forms of the Dharma, and every modification of the sound ah, represented by a seed syllable, equates a quality or virtue of the Tathagata's Dharma body. D. Action mandalas. The motions of all things, both animate and inanimate, all the actions of the body and the mind, all transformation and flux, interpenetrate the actionless activity of Mahavairokkana's Dharma body. Each change in any of the forms of the universe equates an action of the Dharma body of principle. The totality of all change, movement, and action in the universe, wholly fused with suchness, makes up the action mandala of the Tathagata's Dharma body. Representations of the action mandala of the Tathagata's Dharma body show the, quote, actions of awe-inspiring deportment, end quote, of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who embody the virtues and qualities of Mahavairokkana. A deportment also evidenced in the, quote, walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, end quote, all the actions of body, speech, and thought of those who achieve union with the Buddha and for whom all actions are ritual actions. All words are dharanis, and all thoughts a form of meditation. Action mandalas show the actions of awe-inspiring deportment of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the form of three-dimensional images in wood, clay, or metal. Both great mandalas and action mandalas show the virtues and qualities of the Tathagata as anthropomorphic figures, but whereas a great mandala shows them as images painted in the 5 colors, action mandalas show them as unpainted images. The Shimangi says that, quote, when the form is forgotten and only the colors are seen, it is a great mandala. And when the colors are forgotten and only the form is seen, it is a karma mandala. End quote. Karma, of course, meaning action. Okay. In summary, a great mandala is the mandala of the body of the 6 elements, represented by anthropomorphic images painted in the 5 colors to indicate that they are permeated by the 6 elements. A Samaya mandala is the mandala of the Dharma body, made up of the forms of the universe as symbols. A Dharma mandala is the Dharma body as composed of sounds and words, which are represented by seed syllables, and a Karma mandala is the Dharma body composed of all the actions of the universe, represented by unpainted, three-dimensional, anthropomorphic images, performing actions of awe-inspiring deportment. And that is where we are leaving off for today. Very interesting. Very interesting. I know I am going to be rewatching this. I'm, of course, going to be editing it later and putting all those things up, so hopefully more of it will absorb. Who knows? You may want to listen to this whole thing again to help some of it absorb. Like that, it seems like the sort of thing like you have to watch more than once. I mean, or hear more than once for it to sink in. Those different types of mandalas were very interesting, and the 6 elements and all their correspondences were also very interesting. I am familiar with different types of elements and different correspondences, and as you may have noticed, I enjoy finding correlations between them. Yellow as a color of earth, for some who come from a Western background, they find that odd because they're used to, either black, brown, or green representing earth. But for those who are a little more advanced in the esoteric of the West, then it won't be too confusing when I say that the king scale color for Malkut is yellow. So there's a connection. Perhaps, in that sense, the queen scale, being the highest that a human being could possibly comprehend, is citrine, olive, russet, and black, the classic colors of like leaves and dirt and things like that. Where the king scale, by definition, is beyond the human's ability to comprehend. So yellow, being a color for earth, might seem odd because it's beyond our ability to comprehend with the human mind. And so in these, systems such as apparently Jainism and Vajrayana, generally, I'm assuming that most of this is coming from the Vajrayana schools of India in the 5th through 8th centuries, of their existence. Up through the 12th century, I assume they were still going up until the point where they were wiped out by the invaders from Afghanistan, unfortunately. And fortunately, they were maintained thanks to people like Kobo Daishi and Padmasambhava and others, bringing these teachings to these lands. And so one of the things that I'm taking it all at once, but at the same time wanting to see what is Vajrayana, pure, undiluted, unadulterated Vajrayana, and what is Kobo Dayashi's edition. Not to say that it has less value, just want to know what I'm looking at here. And similarly, when looking at something like the teachings of Padmasambhava, what is Vajrayana and what is Padmasambhava? And so by learning both Shingon and Tibetan Buddhism, then it can help to see, okay, what are all the things that they have in common, and what are the differences, and why are the differences? At least that's how I'm approaching it. There might be some Shingon purists who aren't interested in any of that and just want to walk the path of Shingon, and of course, I 100% respect that approach. It's just different from my approach. Mostly, as I mentioned before, my approach is to lay the foundation of learning and absorbing the Tipitaka. But every 10 episodes, I like to kind of float up into the, whoa, what are we doing here? And get into the Shingon. I have to say I did enjoy today's reading more than in part 2. You might have noticed at the end I was saying, all right, well, didn't really get anything out of that. It's a lot of, we're going to get to this. There's going to be a lot of exciting stuff, but where is it? And so, but this actually had substance. There was something to take with me, and so I appreciate that. I hope you appreciate it as well, on whatever level that you're receiving this. And best wishes to you, whoever you are, wherever you may be, whenever you may be, whether it be 2024 for you, as it is for me, or perhaps it's 2040 or 2180. Who knows? Blessings to you in your time and place. I will go ahead and do the closing. to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.